Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. Before we even get into the introduction of this video, I have to let you guys know I dyed my own hair, and I don't know if you'll be able to see like this mark right here. Looks like I'm growing sideburns, but it's actually just hair dye that I cannot get to scrub off my face. So had to preface that with this. This is also the first video I'm filming with my new background. I just needed a little feng shui in my life. We needed to redo the way that my office was set up, and I'm honestly feeling a lot better about it. I'm not sure. I do know you'll see some videos out of order where it's like you'll see my old background, but eventually we'll just get back to this being my permanent background. Sorry if my dog is super distracting in the video. I shouldn't have even pointed that out. And then the last little preface before we get into this video is I was fiddling with the camera functions, and I feel like when I move, like on the viewfinder, I feel like I'm moving like slower than I'm actually moving in real life. I don't know if that makes sense. So I'm hoping the actual quality of this video turns out okay. But after all of those little caveats, today's video is going to be another video in palette week. I hope you guys are enjoying the palette content that I've put out so far. If you have any ideas for future palette weeks, future palette related content, leave them for me in the description box down below. I would love to hear what kind of content you guys would love to see. But today we are going to be talking about the 7 eyeshadow palettes that I would buy first if I lost my entire eyeshadow palette collection and had to start over from scratch. I recently saw Jamie Paige do a video like this, so I definitely drew inspiration from her. I will have her channel linked down below as well as her video. In her video, she selected 5 eyeshadow palettes. I have selected 7. And these aren't necessarily like my favorite eyeshadow palettes in my collection, but I feel like they would make a good rounded collection if I lost everything and had to start over. And I didn't want it to be like, okay, I lost everything, now I'm gonna go buy 30 eyeshadow palettes. That just didn't seem realistic. And I also made it so I didn't buy any like limited edition palettes that like truly are no longer available. So these all should still be available. So if you're interested in seeing the 7 eyeshadow palettes that I would buy first if I lost my entire makeup collection, stay tuned. First, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I hope you'll consider subscribing before you leave today. I do post a minimum of 4 times a week. So if that's something that interests you, then don't forget to subscribe before moving on. And other than that, let's just jump into the video. Alright, so first and foremost, if I lost my entire eyeshadow palette collection, this would if I could only choose one eyeshadow palette to repurchase and I had to just have that eyeshadow palette and that was it, this would probably be it, just because I can use that. I can make work appropriate looks, which we all know are very important to me, but I also can really glam this up. Could you guys have guessed it? It's the ABH Soft Glam palette. This is truly a staple in my collection and a favorite. I just absolutely love everything about this eyeshadow palette. You are offered such a variety, in my opinion. Even though it may not feel that way, I feel like you do get a good variety. You have your warm browns, but then you have some cool, like a cool toned brown as well. You have a black, so I would have a black in my collection if I needed to like use it to deepen up looks. You have one of my favorite shades in my entire eyeshadow palette collection, this mulberry shade, which is just such a beautiful, rich, warm, reddy brown shade. And then I also like the selection of shimmers within this palette too. I feel like you're left with a lot of options with the shimmers. You could do just a shimmer all over the lid, and truly this is such a staple in my collection. It would be the first palette I ran out to buy if I lost everything. I lost all of my eyeshadow palettes. Another true staple in my collection, and I feel like this would be a really good addition to my new little collection if I lost everything, because it offers, again, such a wide variety and so many shades. It's the Urban Decay Born to Run palette. I have raved about this palette many times on my channel. Obviously, my palette has gotten a lot of love. Now, I do think that there are some shades in this palette that are a little bit more of like a dud shade, but overall, I do really enjoy this palette. I struggle the most with these 2 like pink / raspberry shades. I don't think Hellride, which is this matte pink, I don't think that performs very well. And then I've had trouble with Wild Heart, just like wearing away or not sticking to my eye the way I want to. Big Sky also, I feel like I need a sticky base in order for this to really stick to the lids, but I love this palette because if I want a warm toned neutral look, this is definitely something I can easily reach into and create a very beautiful look. I love some of the shimmers that this palette offers. Stranded, Blaze, Ignite, Smog, and Double Life are some of my favorite like neutral, gold brown, coppery shimmers throughout my entire collection, and there's just so much I could do with this. I love that I have my neutral mattes, but then I also have these fun pops of color with these shimmers that are a little bit more wearable and a little bit more approachable because they are shimmers. So hands down, I would pick this up if I lost everything. Lost my entire eyeshadow palette collection. So I also, you guys know, absolutely would need to have some green shimmer in my collection. So I decided to go with my Natasha Denona gold palette, and the reason I selected this is because it has two of my favorite greeny gold shades in my entire collection. Lime Chrome, I think is what this one's called, Lime Chrome, and then this is called Brass, but it definitely has a bit of a green pull to it. And the reason I selected this palette specifically is because it offers me those greens that I love, but also such a variety of browns, which I love my neutral browns, especially from day to day. So I just feel like I really would have everything I need in terms of browns, all the way from like lighter transitions to deeper, like deeper mattes to deepen up a look. I really feel like this would really round out with the other two palettes that I have selected and already shared, would really round out everything I am looking for in terms of brown neutrals that I would want to have in my collection. So hands down would repurchase the Natasha Denona gold palette, even though it is very expensive. And then speaking of greens, I wanted to have some green mattes to play around with as well. So this might be a shock to some of you, but I selected the Melt Gemini palette. I really wanted to select a Melt palette just because I personally love the whole aesthetic of the Melt Cosmetics brand. I think that they do such an amazing job. It's such an amazing job in terms of creativity and artistic, just everything about their brand and their packaging, etc. I love. So I chose the Melt Gemini because it's offering me some more browns, but it also offers me some really, really grungy green mattes that I can use if I'm looking to do like an all green look, which I would want to have the option to do. We all know I love playing around with green. So I thought this would be another good addition. I thought that it might pair nicely with the Natasha Denona gold palette. And then again, I have this little chunk right here that I could use truly for day to day if I needed to as well. I probably don't need these because I have so many other browns in the palettes that I've already selected, but definitely wanted to include this palette in my 7. You guys knew we wouldn't get through this video without me selecting a Huda Beauty palette. Can you guess which one I selected? I actually went with the Huda Mercury Retrograde. I'm sure some of you guessed this, and anyone else who would have guessed probably would have guessed the Smoky, which I almost chose, but I chose a different palette for cool toned shades. I went with the Huda Mercury Retrograde because I felt like for days that I wanted more of a mauve toned look, I could reach into this. I do love my purple eye looks as well. So I selected this because I also love all of the unique textures that you get throughout this palette. I just think that this is such a unique palette, and you can go soft with this, but you can have a ton of fun if you play around with some of these different textures up here. So I don't know where my collection would be if it didn't have this palette in my collection. So I absolutely would have to replace this one from Huda Beauty. And then speaking of cool tones, this palette offers a bit of warm and a bit of cool, but I would have to replace this palette if I lost it. This is my Persona Identity one. I absolutely love this palette, and I know you guys, it feels like a lot of neutrals, which is fine because truly, except for the days that I'm filming, I am reaching for neutrals all of the time. I never wear color to work, so I definitely wanted to, or I definitely would need a lot of neutrals in my collection, and I just absolutely love this palette. You have a couple of warm tones, you have some cool tones to play with, and then you have these amazing foiled shimmers that just offer the most intense payoff. And if I wanted to go for like, if I was going out or if I wanted like a really sultry look, I could definitely achieve that from this palette, which I wanted to make sure I had this in my collection. Not that I'm going out, even non-pandemic times, I'm really not ever going out, but if I wanted the option for a really sultry look, I can get that from this. Plus, this has another shade that has like a little bit of a green pull to it. So this is the shade Bombshell, and it's this really beautiful kind of like satin taupey shade that just has like just a hint of a green. And if you paired this with green eyeshadow, it would definitely like pull that green out of it. Like, it doesn't look green, but it's almost enough to trick you into thinking could it be a green? So I just absolutely love this palette. You guys know I rave about this palette on my channel all the time, and I absolutely would have to replace this if I lost it. All right, so we've done a lot of chatting about neutral shades. I feel like I would have a good rounded collection of neutrals, and I would need one palette with some color if I lost my entire collection and had to start fresh, because life would be a little bit boring if I only had neutrals to play around with. So for the colorful palette that I selected, I went with one of my faves of this year. I was not expecting to love this palette like I have, and this is the Sugar Pill Fun Size Mini Color Palette. It's this really cute little 9-pan palette, and I love this, you guys. It's like almost like bright pastels, and I truly believe, especially in thinking of like me and my preferences when it comes to playing with color, this is really all I need for a colorful palette. I have my blues, purples, greens, hot pinks, red, and orange, and even this like chartreuse greeny yellow shade. I just really love this palette. I like looking at this palette, just like makes me joyful to look at, and I would really want this in my collection if I happened to lose this. I know I don't think you can get this on the Ulta website anymore, but I checked and this looks like it's returning to Beautylish. So I don't know if this was limited edition or not, but I do believe it's returning to Beautylish soon. So that's why I'm counting it as a non-limited edition palette that I would replace, because it's so cute. It has everything I need for color, and I would be really sad if my collection was without this. So yeah. After that, you guys, that is going to conclude this video and the 7 palettes that I would replace first if I sadly lost my entire makeup collection. I would love to hear from you guys in the comments below. Let me know what palettes you would replace if you lost your eyeshadow palette collection, or just let me know some palettes that you would be interested in creating or curating a collection with. I would love to hear from you. Other than that, thank you so much for sticking around to watch today's video and for supporting my channel as you always do, and I will catch you in tomorrow's video. Bye.